Welcome to Dev Webinar number 10, I think, which is really, really cool. We're going to be basically making a Koii task from scratch. So what does that really look like, and what are some tools that you need to get started? Well, the first tool you're going to need to get started is VS Code. This is Visual Studio Code, which is basically an app that lets you code really in a really nice way. So I'm just going to open up chat and I'll drop that link there. So you're going to want Visual Studio Code. The other thing you're going to want to do is you're going to want to set up a GitHub account. Oops. Let's go to GitHub like that. Oh, I went to Jay's profile. That's funny. Let's go to Koii GitHub just to make things a bit more. Is this us? This is us. So go to GitHub and make sure you make an account. There's two things that you're going to want to do today with your GitHub account. The first thing is you're going to want to clone that task template. So you're going to want to open that link. And the second thing is task template and the easy sandbox. So the first thing we did is we went to Visual Studio Code. Next, I just typed in Koii GitHub into Google and I was able to find this link. I typed in from this link, I just clicked the task template. It's the pinned right at the top. Then for the fourth tab, I went to Koii.network, learn easy sandbox, start your lesson here. Can I increase the zoom? Yeah, for sure. Nice. 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 Yeah, and so for this third one, we went to Koii.network. We went to /easy sandbox. And we got here. So like I said, you're going to want to create a download Visual Studio Code. Just download, go through the setup. We're going to make a GitHub account. I'll give you guys 5 minutes to do this, but just let me see if there's anything else that we need. Oh yeah, make sure you download the Koii desktop node if you haven't already. I imagine everybody has, but make sure that we've downloaded that. You've made your wallet. You have a few Koii in your faucet. The other thing that you might want to do is you can go to kpl.koii.network. You don't need to put the mint in there. And that'll take you to our token creator. Yeah, I'll share all the links. Don't worry. Let's zoom in a bit. Yeah, so here's another link. Easy sandbox. Yes, so those are the 4 links I think I've shared. Oh yeah, 5 links. Yep, got good. So yeah, then the KPL token creator where you can create your own token. So yeah, I'm gonna give you guys 5 minutes right now just to do that. So I'm just gonna sort of sit back. I'll be around to answer questions in chat and whatever. So just get that set up for yourselves. I know there's always a bit of a challenge in sort of getting yourself all the right tools. I'm pretty sure that's everything you need to get started with Koii. And also this will basically get you going on any other developer project you want to do. So yeah, download Visual Studio Code. Make sure you have the Koii desktop node running. Make sure you have a GitHub account. And what you're going to want to do with the GitHub account is click this green button on the task template, or you can do it on Easy Sandbox too. And what you're going to want to do is this link, you're going to want to click copy URL to dashboard. We'll be able to clone with this link, or optionally, if you have Visual Studio Code and you have your GitHub account, you can log into your GitHub account through Visual Studio Code. It'll let you do that with a pop-up, and then you can actually just what you can do is use this template. This green button up here, click use this template, create a new repository, go through those steps, and then you can get it through VS Code. Again, if you have any issues or anything like that, let me know in chat. I'm just going to step away for about 4 minutes, and yeah. Hey, I noticed a hand raised.
I have a question. Right now I'm trying to do I install the node and
Yes.
then I click on create a new account, but then it show me a button to, you know, have some funds in the deposit. And then when that redirect me to the website, it says prove that you're a unique human, and then it says, oh no, it looks you might be a bot, but there is no additional button. What should I do there?
No worries. So sometimes it does actually take a little bit of time for the system to process, but what we're going to do just to expedite that, so in your desktop node here, I'll share my desktop node. So on the Koii node, do you see this little key button right there on the left-hand side? There's a little key and it says copy. Copy that and
Let me
paste it into
see.
chat for me, and then I'll
Uh,
send you some Koii to get you
s-
started.
so I should click on skip onboarding then?
Oh, right. Yeah, for now you might want to do that just to get yourself through the process. Yeah. I'll be
Okay,
able to.
clicking skip onboarding. Okay, I see the key. That's the public key, I guess, right?
Mhm, that's your public key. Yeah.
Okay, and then what else? Do I need to share with you?
Yeah, just paste that public key in chat and I will transfer you some funds.
Got it. Here.
So typically the onboarding process just takes you through getting your first um, few coin stuff. But you
Mhm.
know, we're here in the webinar, so thanks for coming. I'll give you a nice bounty to get you started for sure.
Thank you.
No worries. Awesome. So that should send through. At the top left-hand corner, there should be a refresh button right up here. So just hit that a few times. Eventually, the transaction should come through.
Top left. Uh, oh, I don't see it. Oh yeah, I see it.
Yeah, it just takes a few seconds.
Okay, cool. Now I see the tokens.
Awesome. So you should be good to go.
Okay, I just clone also the repo, the task template. I didn't create
Yes.
the repo, right? I just did the clone, and that's it, right? I'm ready to go.
Yep. Yep. You'd be ready to go.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, no worries. I hope everybody else was able to get through the same process. If not, just raise your hand, let me know, and I'll help you through. Uh, but I think we'll get going otherwise. If you don't know how to clone, let me know. And I will help you, like, I'll help you do that. But I'm just going to assume everybody knows how to get a clone going. Um, Let me go to my documents and open up the template myself. Sorry, I should have done this earlier. I wasn't thinking. I might have to make something myself. So let's go here. Let's go here. Let's go here. Let's call this task template sept 2024. I'll just go through the quick process right now to get clone. And then you just want to paste that link that we had, which is this. And that'll basically give you the folder. Cool. So awesome. Now that we're all set up, we're going to get going on basically the first steps of building a task. So I want to go over resources before we actually get into all these things we're doing. So the first thing is the Easy Sandbox. Easy Sandbox has all the lessons. On our website, you can actually see, oops, sorry, you can see all the lessons sort of listed here, or on the GitHub itself, you can sort of dive in to the different content here, sorry. So, you know, if you want to get into some more complex things like networking and storage and stuff, that'll be a little later. Secrets and configs are here. Auditing and distribution, it's a bit higher level, but it's right here. Security and hardening, even a step up. So it gets a little harder and harder. Actually, lesson 6 is really easy. And we'll go over that today. But I just want to make sure that you know the Easy Sandbox is here. If you're ever in the Easy Sandbox, you press the period key. That will open up a web-based code editor where you can mess around with the actual examples that we have. So if we want to go into lesson 1, easy testing task, we have some JS files you can mess around with, and of course go through the lesson, it'll help you out. Or there's an example file sharing task in lesson 2. And even in lesson 3, we have a simple crawler as well. So you can take what you learn in these lessons and you can apply it to the task template, which I'll show you what we're doing there too. This is the right task template, right? Yep, sorry. Good. So it's in the source folder that you'll notice tasks, and this will actually have that structure that you're more familiar with when it comes to the Easy Sandbox. The other thing you need to know before we get started is the docs. So that's if you go to Koii.network, docs is right here, just at the top, Koii.network.docs. You Google it, I'll drop it in chat too. Good morning, White Wolf. Good morning, Wei Lu. I'll drop that in chat. So you can always check out docs. So this is going to be your other great place to get going. You can click developer up here and then you can get access to just a bunch of like really good stuff. Okay, so we went over everything. What we're going to do is we're going to do Easy Sandbox lesson 3. Yep, lesson 3. Simple crawler task. So I know I'm jumping around a lot right now. Let's open up the actual simple crawler task. Let's go to part 3. And let's actually look at the structure of what building a crawler task looks like, just so it makes sense. So yeah, we're gonna go to a target web page. We're gonna use Puppeteer to do some stuff. We're gonna check and store the data in the local database, include the data you need, upload that to IPFS, and submission as a string. So it's pretty easy. We'll get through all these steps in basically a half hour, I'm pretty sure. And you can see just how quickly we can go. So yeah, before we get started, IPFS, InterPlanetary File System, it's basically our decentralized file system. So when you're uploading to IPFS, you are uploading to a decentralized shared file system. The files are, hashed and stuff like that, but anybody with the hash, if you ever share it or you share your code, you open source your code or anything like that, it's possible to get this. And you can also you can always just calculate a hash too based off a file. So it's not necessarily like, I wouldn't never store private information on IPFS. It should always be public information or information that you're okay with other people having access to and grabbing. Puppeteer itself is just like a JS tool that lets you scrape web pages. It talks about some interesting stuff here, submitting and auditing. This is new. Oh yeah, okay, cool. Just takes you here. And we'll go over these 3 steps that we need to build. So let's see what that looks like in VS Code. Let's zoom in. How do we do this? This button? Nice. Oh wow, that's a bit much. Okay, so before we get started, let's just look at our file structure here. So there's a few things that we want to do before we get going. The first 2 things is you'll notice that our .envs have example at the end. We don't necessarily want them to have example at the end. So we're going to remove that. That's the first thing we're going to do. This activates them. So what do these .envs do? They do things like expose a task ID. Now you have to set this. It's not going to automatically grab your task ID. These are things you get to set up for yourself. Okay. These become environment variables for the developer, the local environment. So for testing, you would come to the local environment. For the developer environment, you would come to the developer tool. These are both mostly for testing. So this file is for prod debug. So this is a debugging file. And in general, we don't recommend you edit this stuff unless you know what you're doing with the development environment. But this basically lets you do some more complex stuff, which is pretty cool. And we'll get a little bit into it later. But we just want to make sure we're removing the examples from the end. Why not a single .env? Basically because Dockerization. So the way Koii tasks work is that they're actually a layered approach. So there are Orca Docker containers that can sit sort of within the task itself, and then the task itself also can coordinate with different sort of layers in the architecture, just to simplify the terminology. And so we have these different .env files that are basically accessible by different tools at different levels. So for example, the Docker file can't access .env.developer, but it can access .env.local. Those are some more advanced things. Yes, usually you never touch .env.local, and usually you're working with .env.developer. If you wanted to do something with AI, then that's when you're probably going to start looking at .env.local so that you can set up your node address and stuff like that. I actually wouldn't edit this, sorry. More so that you can set up the kind of environments and the node URL and stuff like that for testing within your Orca environment. Or your Docker environment, sorry. So that's a good note. Yeah. So .m.developer, .local, you probably don't need to remove the example from, but we just did it for completeness sake. But really, this .developer is what you're going to use, and we could even add, something like we can call this webinar name equals webinar. If you wanted to do something like that, you can make whatever you want here. The next thing we want to look at is our config task.yml. This is actually where you configure your task. Now, if you haven't seen VS Code too much, this might be an overwhelming screen, but we'll try and go through it. I'll try and highlight what I'm doing. So the first thing is your task name. This is literally your task name. So we're going to just type in webinar 10 task. The author is me, so Avi from Koii. The description is going to be, this is an example task. Repository URL, I'm going to leave it as the task template. If we end up pushing this, I'll adjust that. Image URL, again, I'm going to leave this as the default image. Info URL, I'm going to leave this as the default info URL. But typically you want this to go to your Koii Ocean page, which is like a page you can set up for Koii Ocean, which is like our accelerator program. So if you want to get funding and stuff, and then your image URL, typically we host this on GitHub or on your WordPress or wherever you want, and you can access it like that. It does have to be hosted, unfortunately. But we are working on making, well, I mean, it doesn't have to be, but the easiest way is to host it. But we're working on a solution so that you can upload something local, really easy. Next is the executable network. Leave that as IPFS. Don't recommend you change it. Audit program, again, I don't recommend you change this. Round time. So Koii works in sockets, which is 408 milliseconds. So use an online calculator to figure out exactly how much round time you need to make sure that you can get the work done. You want to make sure that your entire task, everything we're going to set up, can get done within this window. And then your audit window and submission windows should be greater than a third of that round time. So just calculate this out. Pretty simple.
Quick question there.
Yeah, for sure.
So basically the round time will be a safe wrapper. Say, okay, if it doesn't work on this time, then you're gonna send me a notification that something fails. Is that okay?
Yep, for sure. So I'll get a little bit ahead, but we'll go to task. We'll go to submission. And you can see right here, you'll get a made submission for round with the round number. and then it'll actually use a get to get a value, or it'll log an error, console error, make submission error. And you'll be able to see this in, I'm sharing my screen actually. Can't I open the desktop node? If you open the desktop node, you can see this, right? Yeah, you can. You can click the little 3 buttons here, and you can click output logs, and that will actually open up the logs. So you'll be able to, in your testing environment, open this task log, and and that'll actually start giving you that reporting detail. And so you can report whatever you want within that context.
Got it. Thank you.
For sure. So yeah, the audit will report within the audit window. So that's audit.js. The submission will happen within the submission window, which is submission.js. And the round time is going to be submission audit distribution. So it includes all those 3. Also the task, sorry, it includes 1, 2, 3, and 4. We slightly updated how we do that, sorry. Okay, so the next thing is your minimum stake amount. I would recommend for testing purposes, you leave this at 1.9, but this is basically how much stake you want someone to put in Koii into your task for them to be able to run it. This is because in Koii, we have something called proof of stake, which basically means you're putting up some collateral to prove that you're a good actor on the network on this task. Okay, then we have task bounty types. So this is what you're going to reward your user in. By default, it's KPL, which implies we want you to make your own token. But in concept, if you wanted to use Koii, which is the gas that powers the network, you could. This will be substantially more expensive for you, but if you have a proper use case for it, like if it makes sense to use Koii, which it does for a lot of tasks, it's totally an option.
Could you elaborate on an example, please, on when should we use one instead of the other?
Sure. If you're running an L2 service, so like a DApp, a microservice, or something like that, basically, if you're running a business that's sort of a standalone business, you want a KPL token. But if you're doing something that interacts with the layer 1 of the network, for example, like Hajiro has a validator staking program, then it makes sense to sort of operate with Koii. So another way to look at that, like a simpler way, is like Koii is the token that powers the utility of the network. And so if you want to directly interact with that utility, then you'll use Koii. So if you don't exactly have an idea of what that means, what to do, KPL is just the obvious default choice every time.
Thank you.
Yeah, for sure. We'll go over your token mint address in just a sec, but if you want to give out KPL tokens, you're going to need to have the address there. Otherwise, it's going to use the fire token address, which is fine. You can totally use it, but you'll need your own fire tokens to give out fire tokens. And these tokens that you're giving out need to be in your wallet, and we have a CLI tool that'll actually do that for you. So I should probably go for that too. I realize I'm actually burning through time. We might have to do a part 2 of this, but I'm totally down to do that. So total bounty amount, this is how much you're going to be giving out over the course of your entire task. So let's say you have 10,000 tokens. You want to give out, 1 bounty per round. So this means if I successfully submitted, if the other nodes audit me and they say, yep, this submission looks valid, I'll get 1 of those 10,000 tokens. And a round is happening every about 750 seconds if we have this round time. So like every 10 minutes, basically, just over, you'll get 1 bounty. Again, for testing, I recommend leaving this at 0.1 though. And I recommend leaving the bounty at 10, which is the minimum amount you can put, just for testing. Especially if you're using your own KPL token, then this fee really doesn't matter too much to you. But if you're using Koii, it especially matters that you keep this as low as possible. Allowed distributions failed. I really recommend you keep this at 3 But sometimes you want to adjust this. For example, if you have a task that's trying to collect data from Twitter, and the type of data is very routinely like scrubbed or cleaned by Twitter, and that's why you're trying to grab it for some reason. Maybe you want more failed distributions because maybe a failed distribution is out of the control of the user. So you could set this to like 100 or something, but ideally you want your distribution logic to be robust enough that it can handle that. So here's space. For the calculation on space, go to this link because space is basically what will very rapidly increase the cost of launching your task. This is the task data size in megabytes for the account size. Again, if you want more information on what that means, check out this link. But basically it means for testing, you want 0.1, and for production, you want a minimum of 1. Ideally, you might even want 6. So basically the account size, which is all stored in text, all the data and stuff like that that's happening on the tasks that are coming through, just some metadata and stuff, it's all held within space. Again, you can get a lot more information here. Keep this low. For testing purposes, like, so if you are done testing, you set your space to like 3 or something because you want it to be reasonable for production. You move forward and then you want to go back and test your task again. Make sure to set this back to 0.1. Otherwise, to deploy your task, even if it's a testing version of your task that you're not going to make live, it's going to cost a bunch. So always set this back to 0.1 when you're going to make a testing version of your task and just deploy the testing version instead of overwriting or updating your live production version. And that way you don't have to mess up something that's live, if that makes sense. Here are your requirement tags. Hopefully in Easy Sandbox, you went over the first few lessons, but basically this is the requirement tags of CPU and RAM and storage are actually just the recommended. They're not a hard and fast rule. It's just what we're going to try and look for and ask for, but it's a try. It's not a guarantee. Task variables are things that you can ask the user to input. Twitter password is an example, and we'll use that in this task that we're making. But basically, like, you could put anything. Like, if you wanted to, we could copy this again. You could go, oopsies, that's not what I meant to do. We can copy this again. We can press Shift Alt and the down arrow key while highlighting it all in VS Code, just to kind of copy it down. We want a task variable. We want to call it, I don't know. What? Oh, wait, favorite color. Let's call it favorite color. And let's say, what is your favorite color?
Will that be the section to send private data? So for example, will be like value, and then you're gonna refer to .env.developer variable.
So, yeah, that's actually an important thing to distinguish. Anything that you do in this requirement tag is actually something you need to copy over into this. So that's true. Now that we just made a favorite color, we need to go here. We need to do favorite color equals, say yellow. I want to take that back. I want to say blue. So favorite color. So the reason we did this is because when you're testing the task, our tester will automatically populate your fields with these answers. This is basically what's happening. It's going to create an environment variable that's going to give it this value, and then your task right here knows to look for this variable. You can overwrite it by adding your testing task, clicking the add button, clicking advanced at the bottom, adding in your task ID, launching it, and that'll look something like this tic-tac-toe beta that I have. Ooh, click it down. No, that doesn't work. Pentagon Games beta. You can edit and overwrite these, but the point of end.developer is to save you all that time. It'll always automatically do this.
Got it. Okay, now I'm clear.
All clear. Yes, perfect. Okay, tags. Yeah, tags. These are just tags. It's just metadata. AI, machine learning is what these are. But you could put whatever you wanted in. We could put in the app. Oopsies, oh my. Using a new keyboard, I'm sorry. DApp and webinar. Environment, test or production. If it's in production mode, this will expose this task to all task runners. So make sure if you're testing or doing production, we're swapping this back and forth. You don't want to have your testing task available to everybody to download and mess around with. It just looks really bad for your task. Obviously, you just want to have the production one ready. There's no bugs or whatever in that. And then if you're updating a task, if you're going to update your task, put in your old task ID here, put in a migration description, and then you figure out how to use the Koii CLI. Actually, I should probably do that just before we exit here. But yeah, what you're going to do here is when you're updating, populate these two fields. If you're ever trying to update your task and it's not working, 9 times out of 10, you did something wrong within these two fields or something within the config task URL, like not setting it to test or something like that. So let's really quickly go to the docs and let's get our create task CLI. If you don't have the create task CLI, you're going to need to go through the installation process. We can do that now, but it's pretty simple. I'll drop this link firstly in chat. You're going to run this command. So we're going to copy it. Then we'll go into VS Code and we'll paste it. I guess I already have it, so it's just going to run for me. Oh, don't forget to npm install. Sorry, guys, I totally forgot. Make sure that you're typing npm install or yarn build. Oh gosh. Oh yeah, just type in yarn. Just type in yarn. We changed from npm to yarn. So type in yarn and that'll actually build all of your packages. You'll get this node modules folder. You're gonna want to have that. But aside from doing that, sorry, if after doing yarn, then do this npx and get the latest one. It will go through some options like your wallet JSON. If you don't know how to get your wallet path, just do this. If Koii isn't working, then what means is you don't actually have the Koii CLI. So there's actually just the Koii command line tool, and you can install the suite. Usually this should install automatically with the desktop node, but we've noticed that especially on Windows 11, sometimes this doesn't happen. We think that it might be some sort of permission thing. So if that doesn't, if you don't have the Koii CLI installed from the desktop node, then you might have to do it that way. But otherwise, yeah, just go through this. And then once you have it installed, all you have to do is back in VS Code. We're going to paste it. And now you're able to use the arrow keys to, you could create a new repo, but most of the time we're deploying a new task or we're updating an existing task. Maybe you want to deactivate an old task. Maybe you want to claim some rewards from your wallet. We tend to do this with the desktop node now. Maybe you want to add more funds to the task. Maybe you want to withdraw staked funds from the task. Or maybe you just want to upload an asset to IPFS. which is, I do this all the time, where you're like, I
Quick,
want to upload an
quick
asset.
question there.
Oh, pardon?
Quick question. Is there right now that I'm installed the CLI, the Koii CLI, is that related to the node, and then also it can access to the first default account that I have created with the node?
It tries to look for that default account, and as you can see, mine is in C, users, app data roaming, Koii desktop node wallet, and then it's taking my personal one.
Got it.
It might not be able to find this though. If it doesn't, it's always in roaming Koii desktop node. So you can type in on Windows, you type in Windows R, and then you could type in percentage app data.
Okay,
That'll take you right there.
got it. What is the step that you did just to create the CLI task?
Oh, sure. Right. What we did was we
PX.
typed in npx at Koii underscore Koii create task CLI. I'll paste that in
Yep.
here. So that CLI should basically let you deploy a new task. It'll say, make sure you webpack. If you didn't webpack and you don't know how to do that, when in doubt, go to the README file. And the README will say at the bottom, oh yeah, sh, so npm run webpack, which builds the project and generates the main script. So we didn't do that, so let's do that. Let's do npm run webpack. What did I do? That didn't work. Let's close the debug console and figure out why.
It worked on my side.
Oh, well, lovely then. It really it should just work. npm not being able to find a file. Npm install. It's probably, I'm not gonna lie, something that I did while doing some testing stuff. I'll figure this. Could not open. Could not open this. Oh, it might be a permissions thing. It might just be permissions on my computer. But in concept, if you do that, if you have Webpack, and then we go back to the Koii create task CLI, and then we deploy a new task, then we press yes. Oh, just press enter to continue. Then we do yes. It'll ask us if we want to use the config YAML, and then we'll press enter. Enter the path. It should be right here. You should just be able to press enter, and it should be able to find it. But if it doesn't, just right click and just click copy path here. And then you can right click into the console paste. So I'm running out of time, which is why I don't necessarily want to spend time debugging stuff. I'd rather fix this for next webinar and then actually get going. I know we went over basically a lot of just like setup. So in the last like 5-10 minutes here, I'm just gonna quickly blast through the task itself.
Quick question. I'm just trying to launch the thing. It definitely detected my account that I just created. I select that one. And then the last, I have the Koii task program and the KPL program ID. And now it's asking me, please select how you want to create the task configuration using config, yeah, YML or CLI. Which one should I choose?
Let's use the config task YML. That's what we just set up here. And I didn't
Okay.
actually go over the KPL token yet.
That, and then it says, please select your IPFS preference, manual or using Koii storage SDK.
I'd use Koii storage SDK.
Got it. And then would you like to use your desktop node? Yes, right?
Yeah.
Design. Okay, got it. Cool. Uploading. Oh yeah, no, error. Failed to upload file, error, failed to upload file 422. staking wallet is not valid.
Your staking wallet's not valid. It's supposed to automatically try and find that.
I can share with you the whole, the whole log.
Does I'm just in the past we actually used to ask you for your staking wallet. I'm curious if we know. Come on, if we do. That's your public system wallet, and then we go to the config YAML, and then we could just say yes, for example. Oh, Jesus, it's gonna break down on me. To find your staking wallet, you can go back to the Koii desktop node, and it's not gonna be in wallets. It's gonna be in namespace, I think. Yeah, in namespace, you can actually find your staking wallet here. Or
Okay,
your
got it.
KPL staking wallet. So the staking wallet is going to be for your Koii. Your KPL staking wallet is going to be for all of your KPL tokens.
Yeah, I need to figure it out the way with Mac then.
Yeah, let me see exactly what's happening with mine. Please make sure that the path to your config YAML is correct. Oh, right, because I have all these other issues. Okay, hold up. So we yarned. No, yeah, yarn install, success already up to date. npm install. Oh, I know why this isn't working. I didn't CD into the right folder, did I? I didn't. Oh, okay. So now if I do yarn install, my bad, guys. I totally built node modules outside. You have to CD into the task template. If that's happening to you, if you're getting some weird errors, it might be that make sure that PowerShell is actually in the right folder. That's on me. I feel embarrassed, but it's fine.
No
This
worries.
is what coding is like, you know.
Happens to all.
So yeah, let me okay, now while we have this working, I'll actually go through the proper process and we'll see if I get the same error as you. Okay, cool. So now let's npm run webpack. Let's give it a sec. Compiled properly, nice. Now we want to go to this. Okay, deploy a new task. Yes, we definitely webpacked. Yes, we want the wallet. We're going to use our config YML and we're going to use the storage SDK. So it's asking me if this is my right staking wallet, which it seems like it is. It says staking wallet in it. So we're going to hit yes. It's going to say it's going to deduct this amount of bounty from me. So I'm going to click yes. I'm okay with that. Okay. Why did this fail? Oh, right. So we need to actually be using our KPL wallet. That's I think the problem. We're using our regular staking wallet. We need to be using our KPL staking wallet. So I'll show you how to do that. Let's see if the CLI handles it. So if I do deploy a new task, yes. All right, enter. Yes. Config YML, Koii storage SDK. This is not my staking wallet. Oh, it's going to ask us to enter the path. So what we'll do is on Windows, hit Windows and then R. That'll open this run terminal. Sorry, it's so small. But what you want to type in is percentage app data, percentage, press enter. That'll take you into your roaming folder. You'll go to your Koii desktop. You'll go to your wallets. No, sorry, you'll go to your namespace. We'll right click our KPL staking wallet and we'll copy this path. And then you can just right click to get it in there. I don't think it wants the quotes. Delete. Okay, now let's try it. Oh no, it failed again. Encrypt program ID. Book, create a book, get account data size, encrypt program ID. Token account not found. Error. Do I not have? Huh, this might be a bug we found live real time. I'm almost positive I have some fire. Yeah, I have fire. Shoot. This worked, this was working just a few days ago when I tested it. Error processing instructions. I've even had some other people able to deploy their KPL tasks. This is very odd. Let's try using the webinar token. Just one sec. If I go to the Koii, or wait, so we go to Explorer, Koii Live. No, that's not what I meant to do. Search for Hey Women. Did that actually show up? Yeah, there we go. Copy. Okay. So I made this KPL token with my own staking wallet. So let's see if that was part of the issue. So let's just save this. Everything looks all right. Let's clear that. Let's run the CLI. What task? Oh shit, we did not web npm run webpack. We just want to make sure we just webpacked any. We only changed the config YAML, but that's okay. Okay, deploy new task. Yes. Oh, right. Just press enter. Yes. Use the config. Use the Koii. I want to say you should be able to use your main staking wallet. Ah, that was it. Okay. So the problem actually was that none of us own the Fire token, and so we're not actually allowed to distribute it, which makes sense.
To be honest,
how do we
I'm kind of lost on that portion on the tokens and all that.
Yeah, for sure. I can understand how that just got a little confusing. So let's actually revisit that really quick. Let's make a KPL token. That's the first thing we're gonna do. So the KPL token creator. What you want to do is, or how do you get here is, I'll send this link. Yeah, so create Koii token, create a Koii fungible token. So you're first gonna want to get your wallet. This is your main wallet. So again, we can go percentage app data percentage. We can get our main system wallet.
But isn't that insecure?
Like you mean uploading your wallet to
Yeah.
our site? It's HTTPS, so it's as secure as it's probably going to get. Unfortunately, the only way to actually sign and create, like from a technical aspect, to sign and create wallets is is through this process. It's relatively secure. Make sure that you're on a secure connection. You want to make sure that you're on maybe your home Wi-Fi or something like that, and then it is basically 100% secure. But if you're at a public internet cafe, yeah, be a little wary of this. If you're using a VPN, then there's no issue at all. But if you're not using a VPN, then you might want to be a little careful. But I'm on the Koii network, like I'm at the office here. We're on the Koii Wi-Fi here.
Got
We
it,
have a
got it.
firewall, so I'm pretty confident about this. So yeah, you'd probably want to be confident about that too. But it's HTTPS. So there is key pair encryption that's going on in the back end to make sure that this isn't just a wallet being transmitted. Another good thing to note is that all secrets are actually just maintained locally. They never transmit over the wire, like those task variables and stuff that you set up. So if someone puts a Twitter password into your task, it is secure for the most part. Upload an image. So you're just going to want to go to pictures or whatever, and you can upload your image. Enter a token name. So like, I think we did Koii Webinar. Oh, it has to be base 58 characters. So that's a new change. So make sure you do that. So let's do Koii Web. And then Koii Web would be the potential token. And we give it a description. And you just want to click create token there. I know that's pedantic what I just did, but then you want to mint the tokens. Again, choose your wallet. Go to your app data, JSON, all that stuff. Choose your wallet. Choose the amount that you want to mint, and then put in a mint address. So the mint address is the address that you got when you created your token. It'll give you all that data, but if you ever lose it, you can always go to explorer.koii.live. Again, an HTTPS connection. And you can actually just type in, I typed in Koii Web and it came up as a token. And I was able to find my Koii webinar with its 1 million supply. And so that's by creating that token, I'm now able to use that token to reward my users. So if we open up the Koii task, for example, let's look at Pentagon Games. We can notice that the token that they're giving out is now KPen, which is their token. There should be another piece. Oh yeah, token right here, KPen is what's being given out. And so in concept, if we take, right? So we created a transaction. Here's our task ID. So let's take this task ID. Let's copy it with a Control-C. Let's open up our desktop node. Let's go to this plus button, click advanced, paste in the task. Oh, I didn't copy it. And copy. Copy. Paste in the task ID. Give it a minute while it loads the task metadata. It's going to ask you to stake some of your Koii or your token too. Just going to give it 1 sec. Oh yeah, it's asking me for a Twitter password in my favorite color. Run the task. And where is it? Inflation monitoring, inflation monitoring. What did I call it? Did we rename it? Sorry. Webinar 10 task. I actually did call it that. Let's see if it got added. Oh, what? Parallel real tasks. If I press enter. Oh, it's still loading, that's why. The network is slow today.
Should that be happening in matters of seconds?
It should be happening in a few seconds, yeah.
Okay.
Oh, the task has already been started, it says right here. If I go here, maybe we need to refresh. Sorry, I am running a test version of the node, so sometimes I do get interesting little errors. Oh, there we go. Cool. So I did need a refresh. Sorry about that. But here's my webinar 10 task. So it's giving out Kwebin again because it's base 58. So I don't it cuts off the last two characters there. But we're giving out Kwebin. There's a bounty of 10, and we're going to be giving out, I guess, 0.1 every 10 minutes. But as you can see, we're actually giving out Kwebin. I was the one who made the Kwebin token, and I have in my wallet about 1 million Kwebin right here. So that's why I'm able to create my Kwebin task and fund it. I know we basically just went over architecture today. We didn't actually have the chance to actually go over what a task is. I'm going to go over this super quickly, but again, next week I'll host a actual proper, maybe even on Tuesday I'll host some workshops. I know we're actually going to be launching a new hackathon today, so I'll be setting up some workshops and stuff like that very soon. Through those, we'll try and go over app development, but basically here's what you got to do. First off, go to your setup. In setup, you might want to set up your routes, define any steps that you want to be executed before the task starts, any routes that you want, all that stuff. You can set up here. Optionally, if you want to set up where is it? There's an index.js and routes over here. You can of course use, you know, you can actually overload these directly, or there's also an index.js somewhere where you can, oh, this might be it. You can actually overload this directly with routes. But what I recommend is you set up your routes here. Then you can go into Task.js. This is what you actually want it to do. In our case, we're making it store something called hello world. But for example, we had start a new task, new date test, right? Well, maybe we want to have the date, and that is a new date. And then we want to store a value called the date, and it should contain our date variable. And then, you know, of course, there's an error if something happens. Maybe you're pinging an API or whatever, and you want to actually do something more complex. But in concept, we want to get the date from our computer, and we want to store the date. So, and then in submission, we're just going to store the date. That's all we kind of want to do with this. We just want to say, hey, I got the date. I'm going to store the date. Then we're going to audit it. So we're going to say if boop, 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 boop. We're going to say the submission has to equal a date object. If it is a date object, doesn't really matter what the date is, to be honest. Or maybe it is and, but maybe we want to have an and then we want to say submission is like greater than, I don't actually know how the date object is notated, but let's say like, I don't know, like 2024, right? You want it to be greater than, or 2023 maybe, or whatever, today's date or whatever. Maybe you also want this. So this is kind of how we audit our date maybe. And then distribution, usually I would leave this by default. It's a little bit of a monster. I mean, it's only 30 lines, but it's still kind of hard. All you really want to know is that we have a vote, and we're going to either make this vote 0 or 1, true or false if you want, whichever you want. And we are going to basically vote on the system based off your vote or whatever. I think in audit actually, auditing is actually what votes, and then in distribution based off your vote. If the submitter vote is 0, if it's false in this case, I will do this or that. But in general, what it's going to try and do is just reward everybody who passed an even bounty amount. Bounty submit per round. That being said, if you want to do some more complex logic, you totally can. It's just that distribution is a gnarly one, and I don't want to get into that right now. So hopefully that was a really quick, like I know we went over a lot, but that was an overview of how to like really get started. I know a lot of it was maybe a little pedantic, so I'm sorry about that. Next week, we'll do 2 sessions. I'll schedule and announce them where we can actually go over literally writing the crawler task and like line by line, what do I need to add to Task.js, submission, and audit. But hopefully, what you're seeing is if I just put some stuff into Task.js, it will do that. It'll automatically submit it. It'll automatically audit it. Or actually, it won't. You have to set up your own audit. If you're having, you have to set up your own audit. But once it audits it, and I've configured the task to give out rewards, that's it. I don't have to deal with anything else to actually have my task running and doing stuff. So one of the best and easiest use cases, something that I always tell people to try, is if you're a sports person, find your favorite sports API and try and get some data back on some players. And then when you're auditing it, go to another sports API and see if that data is the same. And for you, you can say, okay, well, if the data is the same across these 2 websites, then that's what's a valid submission for me. Something like that. It doesn't really make sense in the real world, of course. You're just comparing 2 APIs to one another, and you might be slashing the user for it, but it's a really good way to get your head wrapped around what's going on in a Koii task. Also, console.log, literally everything. If you don't know what's going on, put a console.log everywhere and then open up the logs and it'll actually kind of read to you exactly what's going on. Again, you can get the logs by just coming down here. We want to go to our, where do we put it? The webinar task. We can click these 3 little dots. We can go to output logs. We can go to task logs. And if I bring that over, submission hello world, submission checked and round updated, submission task log, submission round number. There's the payload on the round number. Execute task. Child got message. So hopefully all this makes sense. If it doesn't make sense, feel free to ask questions. We went over time, and unfortunately I have to jump away to another meeting in about 10 minutes here. But I really hope that this helped. I hope it was insightful. I hope it makes you feel a little more empowered to start doing stuff.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you so much for the workshop. My only question is like, I'm trying to wrap my mind around, okay, what are some use cases that I can start to try now? Because I've just, read that you can try this with games, you can try this with sport, but what other use cases can I wrap my mind around to, just to give it a try and try to connect the dots?
Yeah, for sure. What I would recommend doing is having like Puppeteer or a similar tool try and look at data on a website. It's basically the best and most straightforward use case for Koii is just data scraping. So go somewhere where data typically costs money to access via an API, but you can see it with your own eyes by just going to their website and logging into an account. Then get Puppeteer. We have a bunch of templates on our GitHub for like the task X is an already built scraper. We have our login helper. So you can use all of those tools or whatever. Basically, I think that's the easiest way. So like go to Twitter, try and capture a tweet or something like that. And then, in the audit phase, you can even grab the same tweet. Like basically in the audit phase, what you could do is you could say, so the task grabbed a tweet ID and a tweet context, which is like the content of the tweet and maybe who tweeted it out. While in your audit phase, then go and take that tweet ID and search for that tweet ID and see if that tweet actually exists and if the content and the person who made it is the same. That's a pretty good use case for Koii. I mean, a lot of people are doing
Got
it
it.
already, so I don't think there's much opportunity to make money. or build a business around it, but it's definitely something you could do.
Got it. Got it. And what are any additional use case that you can recommend for people to start trying?
Yeah, for sure. Loading an AI model is a really cool thing. So I would recommend TensorFlow.js, but if you want to try getting your hands your feet wet with Docker, you can also use like Flask and Python. But I'd recommend Tensor.js. Find a really nice like language model that you like and try to load it through the task. And maybe like all the express endpoints are going to be available through like localhost 30017. You can find that in the easy sandbox. You can make an endpoint that basically lets you, ask one of these models a question. That's another really cool use case. Making AI agents and AI assistants is basically where that leads. So if anything like that interests you, I think that's really cool.
Hmm.
There's other types of monitoring. We have survey verification. That was an interesting one, where someone basically uploads they use the task to just get a survey. They'll get the survey and then they'll have a bunch of other tasks or nodes basically audit the survey and give it a score of how like real it seems, which is kind of interesting. We have a company building a VPN. So they're actually going to use Koii nodes as the VPN service. So right now, like NordVPN, you'll connect to one of their 6,000 servers. Well, Koii in theory has 9,000 servers that you can do the same thing on. So there's another interesting little project that people are trying. So there's some ideas. We're definitely trying to reach out and get more people interested in more ideas, because the more people explore with it, the more ideas we get ourselves.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. It's been great. Absolute pleasure. Thanks for being so vocal and stuff. It made this very fun. And look forward to seeing you again.
All right. See you in the next one.
See you guys.